Broncos country, it was a wonderful year. Even though it ended like that, I really, really just want you all to reckon and how great of a year this has been. Even though I know it doesn't feel like it now, but in a week from now, I guarantee your tune will change and everybody will be, overall happy with the direction of the team. Because yes, you can use this time to be sad about the loss, and you lost 31-7, and that's not anything that I think any Broncos fan wanted heading into this upcoming week. But ultimately, it's time to talk about 5 lessons that we learned from the playoff loss at the Buffalo Bills. So I just want to say, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. We're going to be talking about Broncos all offseason. We're going to be talking about free agency, the draft, so make sure you subscribe, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on the game. Let's dive right into it. Oh yes, follow me on Twitter if you enjoy what I have to say. So, number one, this team just wasn't up for the challenge of going into Buffalo, and it's a shame they lost as big as they did because this is probably going to be the game where they have the highest amount of viewership throughout the country, and this is only one of 2 games that they didn't show up for this whole year, the other one being the Baltimore game that happened in November. And listen, maybe the lights were just a little too bright for the 3rd youngest roster in the league. Going into this week, I was like, Buffalo, they always choke. Why can't it be us? We were always very well prepared. I thought that we were playing well above our talent level this entire season. And while all those may be true, you just ran into a wagon in the Buffalo Bills, and I guess they circled their wagons across the field today. And, Buffalo, it was their turn to take care of business because all year long, the Broncos, anytime they had to take care of business and they were playing against an inferior opponent, they were always up for the challenge and they always got it done. And, it was a little different to be on the other side of that today because, like I said, this was one of 2 games that the Broncos didn't show up for this season. Now, number 2, I'm happy for Troy Franklin on that deep touchdown. And Troy Franklin, he had been a non-factor all year long. We traded up to get him at the beginning of the 4th round. And if you remember, a lot of really, really sharp connected NFL people had him as either a late 1st, early 2nd round guy in the NFL draft. So the fact that he fell to the 4th round, I mean, that's kind of the NFL telling you where he should have been valued to begin with. But all year long, him and Nix just could not get anything going. They just had absolutely no chemistry. And it was just very bizarre because he didn't have the excuse of not, being experienced with the quarterback that he was playing with under center. And, the rest of the game doesn't matter. He ended the season on a positive note. I guarantee that, 4 months from now, we're not going to be talking about that drop versus the Raiders. We're not going to be talking about, that drop or, that missed opportunity that we had in overtime against the Bengals where Troy Franklin was running free. We're going to be talking about that 50-yard deep ball. Now, will he be competing for a roster spot in training camp? Yeah, probably. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to hear that he's on the bubble, even though the team traded up for him. But, I will always remember that 5 minutes of hope that he gave us, him and Bo Nix gave us. And, I'm happy for him because you don't know how the mental side of things can be, coming into the NFL when you were expected to be a 1st-round pick. You don't get the 1st-round pick money, or at least early 2nd-round pick money. And then, it had been tough for him all year. It had been tough for him to find his way onto the field in a team that was really, really struggling and lacking at the wide receiver position. And Troy Franklin, unfortunately, was a big part of that. Now, what I will say is that, like I said, the rest of the game doesn't matter. The fact that he dropped a ball, the fact that he got called for, I think, 2 penalties, 2 false starts, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because, we're going to be talking about this season as the season, well, he couldn't do anything with Bo Nix under center this year, except for in the playoff game when it was pretty much our only positive play of the day. Number 3, we were just not opportunistic at all with our limited opportunities. And unfortunately, this was a theme at the end of the year, and it continued to today. Pretty much every game this year, at the end of this year, I had complained that, we weren't opportunistic enough. We didn't have that killer instinct. Anytime we had a chance to, extend a lead or put the game away, we kind of came up empty. And the drop passes by Troy Franklin, Courtland Sutton, and Devon Bailey, all on 3rd down, absolutely killed us and gave us, no signs of life to continue. And, it's very evident what the problem is around the Broncos, and it's the skill position weapons. I also just want to say that the missed field goal by Lutz really set the tone for the second half because that was one of 2 good drives by the offense all game long, and the fact that they came up empty, that really set the tone for the second half, especially because Buffalo was going to get the football, and when the defense hadn't been, able to get off the field the entire first half, it's just going to kind of carry over. But also the defense, they just couldn't get off the field all game long. I put that as one of my other notes, and that's a huge talking point because think about how many times you could have made a play. The only time I remember us actually making a play was when Zach Allen sacked Josh Allen to force the Bills to punt. And then after that, what happened with the Marvin Mims situation was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, ultimately, the defense, I'm just not really thrilled with the effort they gave. I think, I don't use this word lightly, but I wasn't going to talk about it yet, but PJ Locke looked absolutely lost out there. I am more than fine with adding to the safety room. And, obviously he could develop, obviously he could get better, but, teams, I feel like it was very telling that in the back half of the year, PJ Locke was typically the guy they would target if they weren't going after Barton or Strnad. But yeah, defense just couldn't get off the field all game long. Buffalo really, really had a balanced attack. So, hey, sometimes your opponent comes out with a good game plan, and, this was a fair fight. Pretty much every team was healthy coming into the game. So, yeah. Now, number 4, Estime being inactive leads to more questions than answers. So, I really, really, when this was announced, I was like, huh? But I get why they did it, but I also don't. So, Bidet had not played since week 3, and the fact that you're going to make him active for the first playoff game that this team is playing in 9 years, it really, really just makes me question not what was going on with Bidet or not how they feel about Bidet, because obviously they felt like he could give them something that they didn't, even though he only touched the ball, I think, 4 times all game, which was, that's an issue in its own right, but it's very real that Estime just might suck. Because you are putting your best 53 out there against the Bills' best 53. And I thought it was very, very telling that Audric Estime was not out there for the Denver Broncos. And I understand if a rookie running back is not Alvin Kamara, Sean Payton usually doesn't want to play him. I know he's very reserved with the way he deploys rookies. But ultimately, if you're going to activate a guy who hasn't played since September, you got to stick to your guns. He's got to be a big part of the offensive game plan. And there was no reason for Bidet to not be the guy who spearheaded our backfield today. But unfortunately, it was Javonte Williams who always, it felt like on first and second down, we were giving him carries, and it would be at best 3rd and 6, and we just couldn't convert on those. Like I said, just way too much Javonte Williams. And that continued all year, and it looked like it didn't stop in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to this running back room because it's getting a complete overhaul in the offseason. Up until today, I would have said that Jaleel was safe. I don't think so anymore because he only got 3 touches all game that I can remember. Javonte, I think he's going to be shown out the door. Estime, once again, he's going to be a dude who's competing for a spot on the roster next year. At this point, I don't even know because it wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos added multiple bodies to this running back room, and they need it. They need it because, with a good offensive line and with good run blocking wide receivers and with a good running quarterback, there's pretty much nobody you can put the blame on for the run game being so anemic. Other than, actually, I guess you could blame the lack of intermediate pass catching weapons on that too. But ultimately, the personnel at that position, they just haven't been good enough all year long. And unfortunately, it continued until today. So yeah, I don't really know why we stuck with the run either. I felt like we were just doing it way too much. And number 5, this is the big thing that you need to take away from this. We're just not on KC, Baltimore, Buffalo level yet, and that's completely okay. I thought this team had a nice opportunity in front of them. I thought, hey, you can go in. This is pretty much a bonus game for you. Nobody's expecting you to win. And unfortunately, young and hungry is dangerous. Sean Payton was saying that all week. But ultimately, you just fell up short. And there's a reason they lost to every AFC playoff team they played, besides Kansas City Week 18. They lost to the Steelers in Week 2. They lost to the Chargers twice. They lost to Buffalo in this game. They lost to KC when we were playing the starters, even though you probably should have won that game. You didn't. You lost to Baltimore. You got your tail kicked. And, yeah, like I said, you lost to Buffalo today. So, listen, this is just a measuring stick of where the Broncos are. They're a team that can beat up on the good ones, but not play up to the level of the top ones yet. Every game they played this year was competitive besides this one and the Baltimore one. But listen, third youngest roster in the league, $70 million in dead cap, staggering lack of first and second round picks. The future is bright. The future is very bright, and there's no doubt about that. You have an owner who now, after what felt like years and years and years of drama and nobody holding each other accountable within the building, and Joe Ellis just completely torpedoing this franchise, you have, I mean, I guess a head coach and GM in Sean Payton and George Payton who have done a really, really nice job with the lack of resources that they've had. And you also have a franchise quarterback, something that you have not had in a long time here in Denver. So, yeah, I'm just really happy with the trajectory that we're on as a franchise. Even after this loss and even with everything that happened today, I think we can all take a deep breath and say it's okay. So, hey, I just want to leave you guys with this. I just want to say thank you very much for talking Broncos all season with me. But, hey, now it's the offseason. Now it's time to talk about the draft. Now it's time to talk about free agency. And I hope the discussion can continue, and I hope we can all feel good about where this franchise is headed after this season. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.